Hey guys, Exotic Dan here. Welcome back to another video where I react to and learn things about Australia. So today, in this video, I am going to be reacting to and learning about the history of Australia. Now, as a Canadian, I don't really know anything about Australia. I know like very few and little things about Australia. I do know that Australia has kangaroos. I know that they have koalas. I also know a few major Australian cities like Sydney, Melbourne, Perth, Brisbane, and Adelaide. But that's about it. That's all I really know about Australia. And other than that, that's really all I really know. So today, in this video, I am hoping to learn a little bit more about Australia and the history of Australia, because in Canadian schools, they don't really teach you about the history of Australia and other countries in general. They mostly teach you about the history of Canada. But I am interested to see the history of Australia and see what I am going to learn about today. So yeah. So anyways, without any further delay, let's get into it.
Aristotle, Ptolemy, and Macrobius believed that there was far too much land in the northern hemisphere, and that there must be some undiscovered continent balancing the globe somewhere in the south. Okay, so the logic was a little flawed, but during the Age of Discovery, the search was on for Terra Australis Incognita. Fast forward a few centuries to the East Indies. 3 Dutch sailors landed in Australia accidentally in the 1600s. The mythical southern continent had just been found.
Okay, so I just want to go back a little bit. So what happened is these sailors, they were sailing in the 1600s, and then they somehow accidentally ran into Australia. And I guess it does make sense that there's always going to be, and one thing that I do want to mention is that these 3 people that were mentioned earlier, they were saying something about there being some undiscovered continent. And that's actually something that kind of is still going on today. Like, is there any continent that we don't know about yet? That's like one thing that some people tend to like constantly wonder, if there's like a continent that we never heard about. So it's interesting on how this was like just discovered, like accidentally somehow. Like that's pretty insane if you ask me. But yeah, that's insane to me on how that actually happened. Very interesting.
Just been found.
Okay, what's this? This like little intro?
Australia was the last of the New World to be discovered.
Okay.
Because, let's be honest, nobody cares about Antarctica. Australia was of course already inhabited. Indigenous Australians, also known as, had a population of between 300 and 700,000 by modern estimates. Early contacts with these tribes were as often peaceful as they were violent.
I had no idea that it was like this, that it was like this big. Like there was that many people.
That connected Australia to the
That is
island
insane.
of New Guinea, bringing with them the Pama-Nyungan language family. The second wave was much later, and may have been groups related to the Austronesians of Indonesia. Their culture and history was preserved through the oral tradition. The Dutch named the island New Holland after the county of Holland in the Netherlands, but it wasn't until the British landed on the east coast and named it New South Wales that Europeans began to settle. Landing in Port Jackson on the 26th of January 1788, hey,
that's pretty interesting actually, like how one part of Australia was claimed by one county and then the other was owned by another county, and they basically divided Australia into like 2, with one half being New Holland and the other half being New South Wales. That is very interesting. I had no idea about that, actually.
Settle, landing in Port Jackson on the 26th of January 1788. Hey, that's today. The so-called First Fleet arrived to found the colony of Sydney, with the intention of using the labour of prisoners to achieve wealth for Britain. However, contrary to Australia's convict founding myth, less than half of this First Fleet were actually convicts. In the 1800s, Australia was circumnavigated, mapped, and new colonies started springing up all over. Hobart, Newcastle, Launceston, Port Macquarie.
Whoa, hold up. I never knew that this part of Australia, the small island right here, where, what is that? Launceston and Hobart. I hope I'm saying that right. I had no idea that that island was actually part of Australia. That is interesting. I didn't even know that that was a thing. Like, when I look at Australia on a world map, I normally don't see that. So that's very interesting on how there's a little island that I didn't know about. That's pretty interesting.
Brisbane and Melbourne with dozens of penal centres. Adelaide and Perth were founded as free settlement cities, but the latter was made into a penal colony after it failed to grow naturally. As the Europeans expanded, the frontier wars began with the Aboriginals, many of whom were hostile to the foreign invaders. Most famously, the Black War of Tasmania, which nearly wiped out the indigenous Tasmanians. But far more destructive to the Aboriginals was smallpox, which killed tens of thousands. Australia's growth would stagnate until the 1850s gold rush, which drew hundreds and thousands of settlers from all around the world in search for wealth, particularly in New South Wales and what would become Victoria. This would forever change Australia's character, with new free settlers overshadowing its convict past, bringing with them the ideas of European Enlightenment, the American self-determinism, and the Chinese hatred for the British. These gold diggers became discontent with the corrupt and badly run colonial elites and rose up in rebellion in the infamous Eureka Stockade. These settlers were beginning to feel a sense of nationalism, that perhaps Australia could be something different. The winds of change were on Terra Australis, and soon large-scale trade unions developed in Australia's largely working-class population from the ideas of orthodox Marxists. Trade unions still hold a significant influence over Australian politics today.
But let's not forget the rift that had been forming between Australia and Australians, the government and its people. Thousands of ex-convicts were being released each year, most of them turning to civil jobs, but a sizable minority turned to Australia's bushy frontier for freedom and profits. Policing was harsh, but order couldn't reach far enough. Outside of the cities, only personal gain and wealth could drive law enforcement. Money would change hands and lips were sealed. In this climate, an Australian icon was born, Ned Kelly, famous for his tin hat Robin Hood thievery, infamous for his cop killing and town raids, and recognisable everywhere for that nifty bulletproof suit. For more on one of the most well-known cornerstones of Australian folklore, come to my channel, Feature History, and check out my video on Old Ned.
Okay, so besides bulletproof suits or whatever, most Aussie colonies were granted self-governing status and united to form the Commonwealth of Australia in 1901, a dominion of the British Crown. The new Australian government was very quick to open up a new dark chapter in Aboriginal history, the infamous Stolen Generation. Beginning in 1905, the government began rounding up half-castes, a term which is now highly offensive, and settled them into white families with the intention of breeding out their Aboriginal blood in a form of cultural genocide.
Oh my gosh.
Abuses of these children were also rampant, which is a rather depressing segue into the White Australia policy, a set of strict settlement acts which restricted immigration from anyone who wasn't British or Northern European up until about the Second World War.
Jeez.
As a British colony, Australia would unilaterally declare war on Germany during the First World War, forming the Australia and New Zealand Army Corps, or ANZACs. The young nation was sent headfirst into war. Around 500,000 soldiers volunteered, or nearly 1/10 of the total population. The baptism of fire came during the Gallipoli campaign, when more than 8,000 men lost their lives in the failed invasion of Turkey, an event etched into the memory of the Australian zeitgeist. Although crippled from the Great Depression, Australia again took up arms in 1939 to support her mother nation in the Second World War, this time fighting in Europe, North Africa, the Pacific, and South Asia. Prisoners of war in Malaya, Burma, and Thailand were treated inhumanely by the Japanese, who also bombed Australia's northern coast about 100 times. Australia is still a very young nation, but it has emerged a very powerful force in the region, now a beacon of democracy, social progressivism and commerce, with its phenomenal urbanization consistently ranked among the world's most livable cities. Walking the line between left and right with generous social programs, universal suffrage, a welcoming immigration policy, and attractive business prospects. This is John. John wants to learn how to play the didgeridoo he bought from a garage sale, but the lessons are expensive, so John will probably give up. But wait, John, you can learn for free over at Skillshare. In just 17 minutes with Paul Carlos, you can take a beginner's course in the didgeridoo. Skillshare is an online learning platform where you can learn a new skill, with more than 20,000 courses in design, business, technology, and more. John's friend Sally wants to learn how to animate a kangaroo, so why not this lesson on After Effects by Kurzgesagt? And the great part is it's all going to be absolutely free for 2 months for the first 500 viewers who sign up using the link below. John and Sally made the right choice. Join them in just minutes a day to learn a new skill. Support the show on Patreon to vote for the next episode, or download some of the artwork used in the videos.
That was actually a pretty good video, actually. Definitely learned quite a bit. So, yeah, that... I was honestly not expecting it to be that short, actually. But, yeah, I would have to say, definitely a very good video. Definitely very informative. Definitely did learn quite a bit from that video, actually. So, yeah. But anyways, I think with all that being said, I think this is where I'm going to end off this video. I definitely learned a lot about Australia. A lot that I actually did not know about, actually. So, yeah. And the fact that how Australia was just, like, stumbled upon during a sailing, during a Dutch sailing trip, in the 1600s, and them just stumbling upon it, like, accidentally, like, that's insane to me. I honestly had no idea about that, actually. But I guess it does, like, yeah, I really don't know what to say. Some of the stuff kind of left me speechless, to be honest with you. But definitely did learn a lot about Australia. But, yeah. If you guys happen to find this video informative, and if you definitely learned something about Australia in general, definitely make sure you leave a like, and also subscribe, because I have a whole bunch of video ideas of me reacting to and learning things about Australia. And if you guys have a specific topic that you guys want me to react to and learn about Australia, make sure that you leave it down in the comments below. And until then, I will see you guys in the next video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And until then, I will see you guys in the next video. Goodbye!